Welcome for today's lesson. We're going to discuss mathematics paper 2. Yeah, in preparation for KCSE, (2024), we're going to look at this mock. Remember to subscribe, remember to share, remember to invite a friend to today's lesson. The Nairobi School Mathematics paper 2. So let's look at the paper. We're going to be very quick today. Just keep in touch. Question 1. In section 1, the first 50 marks, the instructions are answer all the questions in the section in the spaces provided. The first question, simplify 2 minus the log of 5 to base 10 plus 3, the log to base 10 of 2. So for us to handle this question, you should know that whenever there is a constant, you usually introduce logarithm of the same number. So we are starting with 2, the log of 10 to base 10, because we know that the log of a number to the same base is usually 1. So we have not interfered with the value of 2 by introducing log of 10 to base 10 minus the logarithm to base 10 of 5, then plus 3, the logarithm to base 10 of 2. It's also good to know that there is another law of log which says when we have n, the logarithm of a number, say a, this one is solved by taking the logarithm of a to the power of n. So through that law, now we can conclude that the logarithm to base 10 of 10 squared minus the logarithm to base 10 of 5 plus the logarithm to base 10 of 2 power 3. Yeah. Then now at that point, we can apply the addition and subtraction laws of logarithms, whereby we say with log of a minus the log of b, this can be solved by the log of a divided by b, as long as the base is the same. And if it's a plus, then the log of a plus the log of b is equivalent to the logarithm of a multiplied by b. So with this, now we can say the log to base 10 of 10 power 2 is 100 divided by 5 because of the minus, then multiplied by 2 power 3, which is 8. This will be the log to base 10 of by 5 1 by 520, so of 160. Now we cannot leave the answer in terms of logarithms, so we can continue simplifying further and let the logarithm to base 10 of 160 be t, just a certain unknown, say t for example. So now we can also say that if we change this statement from logarithm form to index notation, then it shall be 10 power t is equivalent to the logarithm. 10 power t equals to 160, sorry. 10 power t equals to 160. That is changing a logarithm equation to index notation. And at this point, we reintroduce logarithms again, whereby it will be t, the logarithm of 10, equals to the logarithm of 160. So that the value of t now can be concluded as the log of 160 divided by the log of 10. The log of 10, and the value of t can now be concluded. When you take your calculator and you compute the logarithm of 160 divided by the logarithm of 10, you will get the value for t, and that will be the final answer. Let's check it number 2. Make y the subject of the formula. Now the formula itself is 1 out of y equivalent to the square root of 4c squared minus d divided by a. That means we can square both sides of this equation. So that now on the right hand side we shall have 4c squared minus d divided by a. So we are having 1 out of y squared equals to 4c squared minus d divided by a squared. Beyond this, there are many ways through which you can maneuver, but allow me say that if 1 out of y squared equals to 4c squared minus d divided by a, then it means we can take reciprocals both sides and have y squared being equal to, now we begin with a out of 4c squared minus d. And at this point now we can take square roots both sides and say the value of y will be plus or minus. Now we obtain square root both sides, a divided by 4c squared minus d. So that is how we work out the question on making or changing the subject of a formula to y. Number 3, which is a simple question on errors and approximations. The length and width of a rectangular piece of paper were measured as 48 centimeters and 15 centimeters respectively. Determine the relative error in calculation of its area. It's good for you to know that these measurements have been recorded to the nearest whole number, as you can see. And when in the nearest whole number, then there is a absolute error in the recording. Absolute error will be the accuracy of 1 out of 2, and this is 0.5. Now, for us to get the limits within which these dimensions lie, then we'll start with the length and say the length of 48 will lie between, we add or subtract 0.5. When we subtract 0.5, it will be 47.5. When we add 0.5, it will be 48.5. So those are the limits within which the length lies. Then we have 15 now, the width, which lies the same accuracy, of course. So the same absolute error in the recording. And this means 14.5 all the way to the upper limit of 15.5. So now we have the limits. We have the limits within which both dimensions lie. And with this, remember the relative error is calculated in the area. Area is given by length times width. So we can get maximum area first. Area maximum for this piece of paper is going to be equal to the upper limits of each dimension. So 48.5 by 15.5. Then area minimum, lower limits for each case, 47.5 multiplied by 14.5. And it's good we also get the actual area, but that one can be done later. So area maximum is going to be having a value equivalent to 751.75. These are square centimeters. There is a minimum area, which is going to be 688, also 0.75 square centimeters. With these two, we can talk about absolute error in the computation of the area. Absolute error in the computation. Remember, there was absolute error in the recording of the dimensions. Now we are talking about absolute error in the computation of the area, which is going to be given by maximum minus minimum area divided by 2. 751.75 minus 688.75, then divided by 2. So this will give us an absolute error of 31.5. 31.5. With absolute error, getting the relative error now becomes very easy because we just need absolute error out of the actual area. So we need 31.5 divided by actual area, which is a area using the dimensions as they have been recorded. So actual area is 48 by 15, just as they are. So now we're going to get exactly 0.043 04375. So this is now the relative error in the computation of the area for that piece of paper. Let's continue. There is a number 4 here. Yeah, question on angles, triangles, and circles. As we handle the question, it's good. Yeah, thank you to those who are following. I can see some people who have questions like which software are you using? I can direct you to our consultation line, which is 0704153366. So please use that number for any queries. As we also continue learning, it's good for me to remind you of the most effective way in which you can acquire your airtime from any network through your M-Pesa. You just go to your M-Pesa menu, Lipa na M-Pesa, then the pay bill number is 737356. Then the account number will be the number that you intend to purchase airtime for. After you've entered your number, now you key in the value that you'd like to spend, then you complete your transaction. 737356 is the pay bill number. Utilize and refer a friend to the same. Number 4 now. In the figure, RP, RQ, and PQ are tangents to a given circle, just as you can see at points A, B, and C respectively. If angle RPQ equals to 56 according to the diagram, then we also have another angle RQP equals to 60. So the angle at this point is equivalent to 60 degrees. The question now is determine angle BAC. Determine angle BAC. Let's look at the angle BAC. It will be the angle at this point. Now, with the information provided, it's good for you to know that when we have 60 and 56, then we can get the angle at R following the triangle PQR, because 180 minus the two provided angles, 56 and 60, then the remaining angle is exactly 64 degrees. So this is exactly 64 degrees. Now with that angle, there is a reference point that I want us to make from tangents from 3 mathematics. We all know that tangents to a circle from an external point are usually equal. So the tangent from R to the circle at point A is equal to the same tangent at point B. And so we can say that RA and RB are equal. And if they're equal, then the base angles at that point are also equal. So this angle is going to be 58, and also the other one will be equivalent to 58. So we have 58 degrees and also 58, the other base angle at this point, 58, 58. Again, we're going to use from point P. This length will be equivalent to this because they are both tangents to the circle at A and C respectively. So we can talk of now the base angles being equal again, and they will be equal to 62. So the angle at this point is 62 degrees. The angle at this point, 62 degrees. Now with all those angles, at point A, we can consider angles on a straight line, whereby we just need now to take 180 and we subtract the two angles at that point, 58 and 62. So 58, the other one 62. And now we will get the missing angle, which is a BAC. It's exactly going to be 60 degrees. So that is the value of the angle. Yeah, let's continue following up with this. It's good for you to know that this is east. There was a typing error at that point. Therefore, a plane flies from an airfield. 0 degrees, latitude 0 degrees. Of course, that is now the equator. 123 degrees in the east to another base B situated 3600 nautical miles due east. Determine the position of B for 2 marks. Somebody says, I repeat. Instead of repeating, you can just play the video again and again. Just get back and redo the video. Once we have presented, the video is already saved in YouTube. You can play it again and again. Okay, number 5, a plane is flying from a point to another one. Let me sketch the diagram. That is the sphere of the Earth. This is now the prime meridian, the main longitude, then the main latitude equator, 0 degrees. Actually, the places are on the equator. Now we are talking of 123 degrees. Then we are moving to the east, further to the east, which means from 123, we are moving to the east for this particular distance. We can now calculate the angle through which we will move eastwards so that we may cover a distance of 3600. And that means we will say distance in nautical miles along a small circle is usually given by 60 multiplied by the angle difference cosine of the latitude through which the two places are. So 3600 is equivalent to 60 multiplied by a known theta cosine of latitude 0 because we are on the equator. So the theta is now going to be exactly 60, which means from 123 in the east, we are adding 60 degrees. And this means if we add 60 degrees, then we shall move until we find 180 in the east. This is now the last longitude, but after reaching 180, we will have only added 57 to the angle that we have. So when we add 57 to 123, we will arrive at the last longitude, 180 degrees in the east. But there will be 3 degrees remaining. So in other words, I'm saying 123 plus 60 gives us 183. 183 means we will have reached the last longitude. Then after reaching the last longitude, there are 3 more degrees. So we will be approaching the west side of the globe. The west side of the globe. But now you should know very well that even if we are approaching the west side, now we will be from the last longitude and we move 3 longitudes, which means we will find ourselves at 177 degrees in the west because we are approaching west side, but from the last longitude for 3 degrees. From the last longitude for 3 degrees, then we will cover only 3 and find ourselves at 177. But remember, we are still along the equator. So the place B will have a position of 0, 177 degrees in the west. So that is the position of place B. Kindly follow up with the same. If you'd like to consult more on longitudes and the latitudes, our number is open for you. For those who have issues to clarify on, please remember to consult us through 0704 15 3366. Number 6, a serious question on trigonometry. Now the examiners are saying that the sine of theta plus cosine squared of theta divided by sine theta equals to 2. We are solving for theta within the range of 0 to 360. The first thing we will do, of course, to do away with the fractions by cross-multiplying, multiplying through by the sine of theta. So sine of theta, when multiplied by sine of theta, we will get sine, sorry for that. Yeah, we'll be getting the sine squared of theta then we add cosine squared of theta, then that will be equal to 2 sine theta. 2 sine theta. Then now we'll be simplifying further that equation. Yeah, that is what we are simplifying. Remember to share so that you may invite a friend. It's good to learn together. Please invite all your friends to this broadcast. You can see Teacher Miles from Kaplong. Thank you so much, Mwalimu, for being around. Mr. George from Gaeti Boys, and many other people who are around. Thank you so much for being around. Let's continue now solving the trigonometric equation. What I'm trying to say is that this becomes the sine squared of theta plus the cosine squared of theta, and this is equivalent to 2 sine of theta. 2 sine of theta. Yeah. Sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta equals to 2 sine theta. At this point, we are going to apply a trigonometric identity, which says that when we have the sine squared of an angle, we can call it x, plus the cosine squared of the same acute angle, we usually get 1. This identity now will be applied here so that we may conclude that sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta is equivalent to 1. So 1 equals to the sine of theta. To remain with the sine of theta, we can divide through by 2 so that we get half. And to remain with theta, now we obtain the sine inverse of half, which is equal to 30 degrees. That is the acute angle we will be operating with. Now, when we go to the unit circle, you discover that both in the first and in the second quadrant, sine is usually positive. So we need 30 degrees in the first quadrant and also 30 degrees measured in the second quadrant. So the first value of beta is 30 degrees, and the second value of beta will be 180 minus 30, which is exactly 150 degrees. So these are the two angles which satisfy the above equation. Let's look at number 7 from statistics 2. Calculate the mean square deviation for the following scores. The mean square deviations mean that we're going to obtain the variance. So people must know some measures in statistics have several terminologies which can mean the same. Mean square deviation is also another name of variance. So now we are proceeding to calculate variance for this ungrouped data. The first thing in the process of obtaining variance when data is not grouped is always calculating the mean. So let's get the mean together, whereby we need to add all these values: 9 plus 12 plus 14 plus 16 plus 18 plus 20 plus 23. Then we divide everything by 7 items. This will give us a mean which is equivalent to 16. So the mean is 16. With the mean of 16, now we can get what we are calling the deviations. A deviation is given by each value minus the mean. How each value deviates from the mean. So we get 9 minus 16, that will give us negative 7. 12 minus 16, negative 4. 14 minus 16, negative 2. 16 minus 16, 0. 18 minus 16, 2. 20 minus 16, 4. 23 minus 16, positive 7. So these are the deviations of each value from the mean. But now we are obtaining a variance. It's good for you to know that the mean score of absolute deviations would have given us mean absolute deviation. But now we want the variance, or rather the mean square deviation, which means we have to square all the deviations now. So deviations squared will give us 49, 16, 4, 0, 4, 16, 49. So these are the square deviations. Then now we have to obtain the variance, which is abbreviated S squared. This is going to be the mean score for these square deviations, which will be 49 plus 16 plus 4. Then we add 4 again, we add 16, and we add 49 divided by 7, because they are all 7. When we obtain this, we shall get 19 and 5 over 7. 19 and 5 over 7 as the exact variance. This is the exact variance. A student can also express to an accuracy of 4 significant figures, and that is 19.71. It's also going to be acceptable. So that is another way through which you can express the same variance, which is a measure of dispersion. Number 8 is on vector 2, because you can see it's vectors in 3 dimensions. And that is what we're going to solve. Thank you for following. Somebody says, I love paper 2 mathematics. Mr. Monene Morembu Secondary School. Thank you so much. Thank you to all the people who are following. Thank you so much. Now to the main business. Number 8. Given that vector A equals to I plus 2j minus k, and vector B equals to 4i minus j plus 2k, and vector C equals to 2i plus 3k, determine the coordinates of P if the vector OP is equivalent to A minus 3b plus 2c. Let's express the position vector OP first. This will be given by vector A, whereby I'm going to express the coordinates, but as a column vector. So I begin with 1, the coefficient of the x coordinates, then 2, -1, that is vector A, -3, vector B. So -3, the value of vector B, which is going to be 4, -1, and 2. The z component is 2. Then we add vector C. Vector C will be 2. Then the y component, which has not been added, takes a 0. Then 3 for the z component. It's good for you to know that that's one of the tricks which have been applied in the setting of this item. This is going to be 1 minus 12 plus 2, then 2 minus 3 by -1 becomes a positive 3, then 0, and we also have -1, -6 plus 3. So this is going to be 1 minus 12 plus 3, giving us a -9. Then this will be 6. Then we're going to have a -7 plus 3, which is -4. Yeah, -4. It's good for us to recheck something here. -3 by -1 becomes +3. This is going to be +3 when you multiply +3, so that the y component now finally becomes a 5. Now with the column vector this way, OP, it means that the coordinates for P are now going to be expressed as -9, 5, -4. So the final answer must appear as a coordinate and not a column vector. That is how we should express our final answer. We proceed to number 9. Draw the circle whose equation is x squared plus y squared minus 2x plus 6y equal to -6. Draw the circle. The instructions are simple. We are just drawing the circle. So what you're supposed to know is that from the equation of a circle, we can obtain the radius of the circle and also the center of the circle. And now that there is a grid which has been provided, then we can use the grid to draw the circle, because the demand statement is draw the circle. So let's use now the equation provided for us to get the center and also the radius of the circle. We'll complete the square by having the terms with x, which is x squared, then minus 2x, plus a constant for us to complete the square, plus a constant here. You can call it constant 1, because when we start with y squared and we add 6y, we should also add another constant, which I call C1, so that now when we go to the right-hand side, we shall have -6 plus both constants, C1 and C2. So this is going to be C2. So the two constants will be added. It's good for you to know that C in a perfect square, where the coefficient of x squared is 1, is given by the value of b divided by 2 squared. So the first constant shall be, the value of b is -2. -2 divided by 2 squared, you get +1. The second constant shall be, b is 6 in the y components. So we need to say that 6/2, which is a 3 squared, gives us 9. So the second C is 9. So now we write the expression using known constants and say x squared minus 2x plus 1. Then we add y squared plus 6y plus 9 equals to, on the right hand side we shall have negative 6 plus 1 plus 9. This is x. I want to factorize the perfect square which has x. So I start with x and I subtract. The square root of 1 is 1 squared plus, I begin with y. The sign is positive, adjacent sign is positive. Then I add the square root of 9, which is 3 squared. This will give me negative 6 plus 1 plus 9, which is a negative 6 plus 10. This will be positive 4. So now the equation of a circle generally is supposed to appear this way. And with the general equation of a circle, sorry, not a straight line, with the general equation of a circle, we can now extract the coordinates of the center. So the coordinates of the center shall be positive 1 and negative 3. And the value of radius is going to be the square root of 4, which gives us 2 units. Now with the radius and also the center of the circle, anyone can proceed to draw that circle. So we will utilize the graphical page whereby you have to draw a Cartesian plane, identify the center, 1, negative 3, then proceed to draw a circle using 2 units as the value of the radius, and you get all the marks according to the demand of the examiner. Number 10 is on commercial arithmetic. That is a mathematics paper 2. It's good for me to remind people as we continue learning that the quickest way to obtain airtime for all the networks, be it Airtel, be it Safaricom, be it Telcom, you just have to go to your M-Pesa, Lipa na M-Pesa. The paybill number is 737356. Then the account number is your number, the number that you're buying airtime for. It can also be the number of a friend whom you want to surprise with airtime. Then you proceed to enter the amount that you'd like to spend and you complete the transaction. You get your airtime instantly. The pay bill remains 737356. Thank you. Number 10, the following table shows monthly income tax rates for a certain year. So we have the income in Kenya shillings in the table, just as shown. Then the tax rates given in percentages for every Kenya shilling. We can see the table there. We are given further instructions that in June of that year, employee earnings were as follows: basic salary 92,000, house allowance 45,000, then travel allowance 12,000. He was entitled a monthly tax relief of 2,400 Kenya shillings. Calculate his monthly tax. Calculate his monthly tax. So in this case, we're going to first of all get the taxable income. Taxable income is usually or generally given by the basic salary plus all the allowances. So the basic salary is of 92,000 and the available allowances are 45,000 for house and 12,000 for traveling. This is going to give us exactly 149,000 Kenya shillings. This is the amount that we're going to tax according to the above table. So let's begin the taxation, whereby in the first band, we're going to tax 24,000 at the rate of 10%. 24,000 at the rate of 10%. This is going to give us 240 Kenya shillings as the tax. 24,000. So we're getting 2400. Yeah, 10%, 2400. In the next bracket, we shall subtract now 32,333 minus 24,000. And in the second band, now we shall be taxing 8333 at the rate of the rate of taxation there will be 25%. So at the rate of 25%, we're going to get 2083.25 Kenya shillings. The next tax is going to be 50,000 minus 32,333, and that way we'll get in the third band we'll be taxing 17,667 at the rate of taxation in that bracket is going to be 30%. So at the rate of 30%, now we're going to get a 5300.10 Kenya shillings as the tax. And finally, in the fourth band, now we'll need the total taxable income 149,000, and we subtract the adjacent limit, which is 50,000, and that will give us a 99,000. So we'll be taxing 99,000 at the rate of 32.5%. So 32.5%. This will give us tax equivalent to 32,175. 32,175. 32,175. Yeah, 0.00. So at this point now we can add, and from addition, what we are getting is what we call gross tax, or the tax that this gentleman would have paid if it were not for the relief. So you add all the values from the table, and this is giving us 41,958. 41,958.35. So this is the total tax that he would have paid. But now we need the tax that he pays. So we will proceed to the net tax, whereby it is the gross tax minus relief, 41,958.35 minus the tax relief of 2400. And this is going to be exactly 39,558.35. So this is the net tax paid by this employee according to the table and according to what he earns. There is a number 11 here. Number 11 is a question on transformations. That is a Form 4 Mathematics, Paper 2. A transformation T maps a rectangle OABC onto OAB prime C prime. The first thing is to describe the transformation. When you look at the transformation, we can see the original rectangle and the final rectangle. This rectangle, because from the x-axis, the height is not changing, then it means the rectangle has not been stretched. It has just undergone shear. And so, it has undergone shear because from the look of how it is, the new shape, which is automatically a parallelogram, will have the same area as the original rectangle. So because there is no change in area, then this is just a shear. And to describe a shear, you first of all mention that this is a shear. Then the next thing is the invariant line. You can see we are moving along the x-axis, or rather, the coordinates which have changed are parallel to the x-axis. So we will talk about x-axis invariant. X-axis invariant. Then we are supposed to know that after you've mentioned shear, x-axis invariant, we can also mention the shear factor. The shear factor is, for example, the coordinates of B are becoming 5, 1, and B was initially 2, 1. So you can see that the coordinates of B on the x-axis are moving by 2 units or 3 units. That is from 2 to x equals to 5, 3 units. So we can say shear factor 3. Then we say a point like B, which is a 2, 1, is being mapped onto B prime 5, negative 5, 1. 5, 1. So for you to describe a shear, we have mentioned that it is a shear. We are also giving the invariant line x-axis, and we are also giving the shear factor of 3. Remember, the shear factor will be the same even if we use the other transformed coordinate, that is coordinate C to C prime. It will just be the same shear factor. And you mentioned that C with coordinate 0, 1 is being mapped to C prime with coordinate 3, 1. So the shear is now fully described. If it was a stretch, we would have talked of the scale factor of the stretch. And we also give the invariant line. But in this case, it is a shear. Determine the matrix of transformation. Generally, we usually say that when it is a shear transformation and we have the x-axis invariant, we usually say that the matrix T, which is transforming, the matrix of transformation is going to be 1, K, 0, 1, and in this K, where K equals to the shear factor. And now that the shear factor is known, then the specific transformation matrix can now be written as 1, 3, 0, 1. Alternatively, if you don't recall the general transformation matrix that govern a shear x-axis invariant, we can do it the long method. Not even the long method, it's also brief. You can say that a coordinate C is being mapped by a known matrix A. This is alternatively. A matrix A, B, C, D is mapping C, and the coordinates of C are 0, 1, and also B. B's coordinate is 2, 1 on 2. C prime, O's coordinate is 3, 1, and B prime 5, 1. So now through this expression, we can determine the unknown matrix which maps C and B onto C prime, B prime. Let's proceed to obtain the values of A, B, C, and D. So for us to get the values, we need to talk about the general multiplication of matrices. Row multiplied by column to give us the first element. Therefore, A by 0 and B by 1 should give us 3. So A by 0 and B by 1 should give us 3. A times 0 becomes 0. So the value of B is going to be 3. Let's get to the next computation, whereby we will say the same row multiplied by the next column is supposed to give us the value at this point, which is a 5. So A by 2, that is 2A, plus B should give us 5. Remember, the value of B is known to be 3. So 2A, we substitute 3 here, but when we take it to the other side, where there is 5, you discover that 2A equals to 2. The value of A shall be 1. So the value of A has been obtained. Yeah, the value of A can be obtained that quickly. We can also get the values of D and C using the same approach, whereby we say the row multiplied by the first column here should give us the element down here. So C by 0 and D by 1, that will be D, equals to 1. Automatically, the value of D has been obtained. Then C by 2, that gives us 2C, plus D by 1, that gives us D, is equivalent to the element at this point, which is 1. Remember, the value of D has already been obtained as 1. So 2C is equal to, we substitute 1 and we take it to the other side, it becomes a 0. So the value of C is 0. And automatically now we can write down the matrix of transformation A, B, C, D, and it is confirming that the values of the elements in that matrix are just as we had listed initially. So that is how we handle the question. Can look at number 12 again on commercial arithmetic. Somebody says enjoying the discussion, and this is great. I'd wish to see what section 2 entails. This paper is so much interesting. People can get a copy of this paper through 0704 153366. Yeah, but on a different day, I will also be going through the section 2 of the same paper. So it's a paper that you're going to see. Don't worry, I will present the paper in this particular platform. So thank you so much for your time. Let's conclude this paper now. Number 12. A TV set costs 45,000 cash. A man buys it on hire purchase by paying a deposit of 15,000 and the balance in 12 monthly installments. If the seller charges 4.5 per month compound interest, calculate part 1 the amount of each installment, and part 2 the hire purchase price of the TV set, of course. Now we will start by operating Roman 1, whereby we will say that there is a balance which is going to be charged interest on. The balance will be when we take the cash price and we subtract the deposit that he made, we'll be getting 30,000 exactly. So the 30,000 which remains will not be paid as 30,000 at the end of it because of the charge on this balance now due to the higher purchase terms. Therefore, we'll say that according to compound interest, amount is usually given by principal, then 1 plus rate over 100 raised to n. So we will say 30,000 into 1 plus a rate of 4.5% raised to 12, the number of interest periods, will give us a 50,000, then 876.44. So this is the amount of interest which is going to be paid at the end of the day. Now, because of this one, and the time to be taken is 12 monthly installments, then we can get the value of each installment. So each installment is going to be 50,000, 876.44 divided by 12. This is going to be 4239.70. So this is now the value of each installment. The value of each installment. We are also told to find in Roman 2 the hire purchase of the. So the hire purchase will be the deposit which had been paid, and now finally paying 5876.44. So we will have a total hire purchase price equivalent to 65,876.44 Kenya shillings. So that will be the amount paid as the hire purchase price. Another interesting question from sequences and series, number 13. The ratio of the 7th term to 11th term of an increasing arithmetic sequence is 19:31. Again, we are told that the sum of these two terms is 25. Find the first term and the common difference of the sequence. Remember that any of the term of an AP is usually given by A plus N minus 1 multiplied by D. So when we are talking about the 7th term, then it means that the 7th will be A plus N minus 1. So 7 minus 1, 6 multiplied by D. Again, there is the issue of the, not 8th, but 11th term, according to the instructions. Yeah, the 11th term shall be A plus 11 minus 1, which is 10, multiplied by D. Yeah, so now the instructions are that the ratio of these two terms is equivalent to 19:31. So it means when we take A plus 6D and we divide by A plus 10D, this should be equal to 19 out of 31. That is the first interpretation. That is the first interpretation. Let's continue solving out. Now we should know that through cross multiplication now we will be at some point. So we can talk of 19A plus 190D. This is equivalent to 31A plus, after cross multiplication, 6 by 31. This will give us exactly 186, the value of D. We can simplify further by having 31 minus 19. 31 minus 19, this is going to give us what? Let me subtract there. Mm-hmm. 31 minus 19. This is giving us 12A. Okay. Then 190 minus 186. This will give us a 4D. But we can simplify further and say the value of D is equivalent to 3A. This one now is equation 1 and fully simplified. From the second statement, the sum of these two is 25. So this means when we take the 7th term and we add the 11th term, we're going to get 25. We're We can simplify further by saying 2a plus 16d is equivalent to 25. This is my second equation now. And for the same AP, we can solve simultaneously, whereby from equation 1, we substitute in equation 2. 2a, instead of a, we can say 2a plus 16, and instead of d, we'll say 3a is equivalent to 25. So 2a plus 48 gives us a 50a equals to 25. And to simplify further, the value of a will be 0.5, or simply half. So the first term has already been obtained. The next thing to obtain is the value of d. So d is going to be 3 multiplied by 0.5, and this will give us the value of d as 1.5. So the value of d and the value of a have already been determined. Let's go to number 14. Given that dy dx, that is the derivative of a certain function y with respect to x, is equal to negative 4 minus 6x, find y in terms of x if y equals to 12 when x equals to negative 2. So if this function has been differentiated to give us this, then we can do the antiderivative, or rather the integration, for us to get back our y. So for us to get y, we need to integrate the gradient function, which means we need to integrate negative 4 minus 6x with respect to x. And this is going to give us, when we integrate at this point, we'll have negative 4, and x is introduced, minus 6. X now becomes power 2, and we divide by 2, plus the arbitrary constant c. This is equal to y. So we have the general equation. But with the general equation, we are given y equals to 12 when x is negative 2. In other words, it's like the curve, or whatever equation is for, the curve passes through coordinate negative 2, 12. And with that, we can have a 12 where there is a y, and negative 2 where there is x. 6 over 2 can simplify actually to 3, and we will have negative 2 being squared, then plus c. To remain with c, we need 12 plus 8, that is 20. 12 plus 8, we get 20. Then we will have a negative 3 by 4, which is 12. So 20 minus 12. Let me just confirm that. You know, we have a 12. So we have to subtract 12, we subtract 8, because this becomes positive 8. Then now we add 12. I must compute that now. Negative 3 by 4 becomes negative 12. So negative 12 must be added. Yeah, we must add it. So it will be 24 minus 8, giving us 16. So with the value of c now, we can write the general function of y. And we'll say that y is equal to negative 4x, then minus 6 over 2, we have said is negative 3, x squared, and the constant has been obtained as 16. The constant has been obtained as 16. So that is how we work out such a question. We are finishing up. Let's look at number 15. We are only doing the section A, or section 1. Later, we'll be looking at the section 2 of the same paper. PQ and R are points on horizontal ground, then PQ is equivalent to QR, which is equivalent to 6. So PQ and QR are equivalent to 6. 6. Angle PQR, the angle at this point is 120. Then T is the mid. So T is the mid of PR, as you can see where it is located. And point S equals to 10 centimeters, vertically above Q. So we have 10 centimeters here. And if it is vertically above, then it implies that we have a 90 degrees at that point. Yeah, 90 degrees at that point. So now with that angle of 90 degrees, we can now proceed to work out a few things. For example, when I divide through from Q to T, remember I've not even seen the demand of the examiner. We are calculating length ST. For us to get ST, let me begin by getting a QT first. For us to get QT, we are having 90 at this point, and when 120 is bisected, we will have 60. So we can say that we have 60, we have the hypotenuse as 6, and we need the adjacent length. So we can use the cosine. The cosine of 60 is equivalent to a known QT out of the hypotenuse of 6. So 6 cosine of 60 should give us QT. So the value of QT now is going to be 3 centimeters because cosine of 60 is a half. Now with 3 here, and remember there is also SQ given, and there is a right angle at that point. Then we can talk of ST being equal to the square root of, according to Pythagoras theorem, 3 squared plus 10 squared. So when you carry out the square root, you get exactly 10.44. An accuracy of 4 significant figures. 10.44. Okay, angle STQ. Angle STQ. Now, angle STQ can be obtained using several approaches. Remember, we are already having length ST. We also have SQ. We also have QT. So for triangle QTS, we have the 3 sides and it's right angled. So we have all the opportunities to use the trigonometric ratio of our choice. So for that case now, I'll be talking about, let me use tangent. Remember the angle that we want is the angle at this point. So the tangent of that angle, beta, will be given by, the opposite of this will be given by the opposite length, which is 10, divided by the adjacent length, which is 3. And for me to get the beta now, I need the tan inverse of 10 over 3. So tan inverse of 10 over 3 will be taking us to 73.30 to 4 significant figures. So that is how we get the angle that we wanted. So thank you so much for this far. We can look at the last question now, number 16. A horsepower of a steam engine varies jointly as the average pressure in the cylinder and the speed of rotation. Let's interpret the question up to that far. We are talking of a joint variation, whereby the horsepower, let me say H, varies jointly as the average pressure and the speed of rotation, speed S. This means H is equivalent to a constant. We can do away with the symbol of proportionality and we introduce a constant of proportionality multiplied by P S. This is to mean that we can now proceed to get our constant, because we are told when the average speed is 400 kilopascal and the engine is making 750 revolutions per minute, that is now the speed, the horsepower is 100. So horsepower equals to 100, equivalent to K multiplied by P, average pressure, 400, times the speed of the engine, 750. So that the value of K now can be obtained as 1 out of 3,000. With this, we can even talk about the general equation relating the horsepower, the average pressure, and also the speed of rotation. So we can say that H equals to 1 over, the constant is now known, multiplied by the average pressure times the speed of rotation. The question now is, what is the horsepower when average pressure is 300 kilopascal? Horsepower is the unknown, 1 over 3,000 multiplied by horsepower 300 multiplied by 600. And this is going to be 300 by 300, we get exactly 60. So the horsepower is exactly 60. The next time we'll be discussing the section 2. Before you leave the video, kindly remember to promote this. This is how we purchase airtime for all the networks. Just go to Lipa na M-Pesa, enter the pay bill 737356. Remember to enter your phone number as the account, phone number that you'd like to purchase airtime for. Then after that, you now enter the amount of airtime that you'd like to spend. You also enter your PIN, then you confirm your transaction. The pay bill is 737356. Share this pay bill with all your friends. Those who have questions, remember to channel them through 07 04 15 33 66. Thank you so much for being around.